I hate to bring the discussion of our days to an end, but I would like to commence only 26 minutes behind our work session today, this work session of the Taxation Committee. And we will begin with introductions. I'm the House co-chair of this committee, Dan Sayre. I represent House District 135, which is the greater part of the great town of Kennebunk.
I'm Ann Matlack. I live in St. George and I represent House District 43, which includes the communities of Cushing, Thomaston, South Thomaston, St. George, and part of Owl's Head, all in Knox County.
I'm Shelley Rudnicki. I represent House District 67, which is Fairfield and Benton. And because I didn't get to make an announcement on the House floor today, I just want to remind everybody that on Monday from 10 to 4, there will be a pop-up museum in the Hall of Flags from the American Journey Experience Museum. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tracy Quint. I represent House District 8, 47 communities in Washington, Aroostook, and Penobscot counties. And I'm going down my list and having to push a lot together to get them all through by the end of session here. So hello to McQuahawk, Lakeville, Orient, Reed Plantation, Drew Township, Forkstown Township, and Twombly Ridge Township.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Harriman. I represent District 94, which is part of Lewiston.
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Gregory Swallow. I represent House District 7, which is Holton, Linneus, Ludlow, and New Limerick, and Oakfield.
Good afternoon, everyone. Representative Ed Crockett from District 112, part of Portland and part of Falmouth. And I will apologize now because I will be bouncing back and forth between committees, which is a full work session day.
Good afternoon, Representative Russ White, House District 13, which is Ellsworth, Waltham, Fletcher's Landing.
Good afternoon, Thomas Levine, House District 148, towns of Berwick and parts of North Berwick.
Bruce Bickford, I represent Senate District 20, which is Auburn, Poland, New Gloucester, and Durham.
Thank you very much, all. And we're also joined today by our committee analyst, Stephen Langland, and our committee clerk, Elena Ray. And with that, I would like to propose a slight change to the order of operations today. I would like to begin with LD 926, then move on to LD 2178, and then conclude with LD 2029. And with hearing no objections, I'd like to open the work session on LD 926. And I would like to invite the bill sponsor to speak briefly to this bill. And that bill sponsor being me, I will commence now. This bill has deals with the R&D tax credit that the state offers on top of the federal tax credit. It was carried over from the first session for additional work. Additional work has been done. And in the opinion of the bill sponsor, further work is required. We have reached a point where, for a couple of reasons, I would like to move ought not to pass on this bill, in part because we just made a major improvement in the taxation of R&D in the state through tax conformity. So there's a bit less urgency around this. There's also concerns about the administration of the reporting and evaluation process related to this bill. And I did not see a clear path to resolving those questions in the time that remains to the committee. So in deference to the committee's time, I would like to make a motion, or actually I would invite a motion of ought not to pass. And I recognize Representative White. Does Representative White have a second? Representative Quinn was first on the draw. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion of ought not to pass on LD 926. I see Representative Swallow, Representative Harriman, Representative Quint, Representative Rudnicki, Representative Matlack, Representative Sayre, Senator Bickford, Representative Levine, and Representative White. It's unanimous of all present. Thank you very much. believe our next step may be a little longer. I would,
We could just move everything and then be done with it today, right?
I would like to open the work session on LD 2178, an act to establish the Independent Office of Tax Appeals and make other changes to the laws governing the tax appeals process. The bill is presented on behalf of the Department of Administrative and Financial Services by Senator Grahowski, who will be joining us in process, but is aware that we are starting in her absence. And so if I may, I would like to turn this over to our analyst, Stephen Langland.
Sure. So Jessica should be here very shortly. I know she's listening. Jessica, if you're listening, it's your time to shine. But I understand that you received an amendment from DAFs. Obviously, this work session was initially picked up on Tuesday. I think you had some questions and required some further clarification. That is the extent of my knowledge of this bill, given that it's Jessica's, but she'll be here momentarily. So I do have a copy of the amendment that I'll be sharing with her. So I don't know if it makes sense for you to invite the department up to talk about the amendment or to get further clarification on what you had wanted on Tuesday, or
If you anticipate Jessica joining us in just short order, I'm happy to, yeah. I don't want to get started with something and then need to catch her back up if she's just moments away. In the interim, Representative Rudnicki, you had your hand up.
Well, I was just looking at the amendment, and if you look at the summary in the amendment, it's creating a 13-member task force to study improvements. Why don't we just, rather than doing a task force, why don't we task our current committee that we already have for property tax stuff, rather than another study that's probably going to end up on the study table? I'm just kind of throwing that out there to see if it's anything that would work.
I appreciate the comment. I saw Senator Bickford's hand, and if it's not to answer your question, I will answer your question.
Yeah, I agree with Representative Rudnicki that, yeah, we can put this back on the property tax task force, and they can always put a subcommittee together or whatever. This bill as written, if we're going to do something with the Board of Tax Appeals, let's do it. Let's not do a little bit and then change it a year or two from now. Let's wait and do it all at once. Do it in one simple, all boxed up with a bow, done. Rather than a small change now and then hope for another change in a year.
Okay, so what I believe I am hearing is a third idea, because what we have in front of us, or maybe a fourth, we have the original bill. We have an amendment that we have just received from DAFs. And we also have an amendment that we received just before the work session that we held last week, that came from an attorney, and was brought forward by Senator Bickford. So before we make a decision on those two options, I wanted to give the folks from DAFs the opportunity to present the material we asked them to present to us when we concluded the last work session. I think that would be having worked through that. Once we have worked through that would be the appropriate time to weigh these other recommendations. So seeing that we don't yet have Jessica with us, I think in the interest of everyone's time, we go ahead and invite Mr. Sagasser forward and walk us through. We have both the illustration that I specifically requested and a written description of amendments to make to the bill. And I thank you for providing us with that as requested. and invite you to introduce yourself and start walking us through what you've provided.
Yes. Good afternoon, Representative Sayre, members of the Taxation Committee. I'm John Sagasser. I'm the Tax Policy Counsel for the Office of Tax Policy at Maine Revenue Services. We submitted today our document for a for our recommended amendment to the bill. And just by one step back, the bill has the two big parts. The Board of Tax Appeals, which handles non-property tax cases, all the Title 36 tax cases that aren't property tax. And then whole property tax review process that there were a number of questions and discussions about last work session on Tuesday, involving the State Board of Property Tax Review, the county commissioners, and municipalities, those with and without bars. So two different parts of the bill. The amendment that we presented, you should have before you, has in the changes for Part B, which is about the Board of Tax Appeals, which is not the property tax stuff. Those are the Part B amendments that you see written there are ones that walked through with you on Tuesday. After considering further the discussion on Tuesday and further looking at the issues and talking with others, the amendment you have before you goes further and proposes, along the lines that you were just discussing, not to go, and this is now on the property tax side, not to go the half steps measure, looking to later full steps. Instead, the amendment you had before you would drop all of Part C, except for minor administrative provision, which I can explain, all of Part D. So C and D are the property tax pieces, as well as the study to drop that, which I'll talk to separately in a second. On the property tax side, so we did not submit charts. I have charts if you want to go through those, but our recommendation is not to, with the idea, it is a confusing area. There is a need and benefit for changes, and we put forward some changes for improvement, including MBARs. And I did want to correct myself partially. The practice there, when an appeal goes to a municipality with a Board of Assessment review, is sometimes treated as a formal adjudication. It's a spectrum. Sometimes they're treated, municipalities treat them differently. Sometimes it's a full formal adjudication, sometimes more informally. Regardless, you still have the two steps from there. For non-residential over $1 million, you go to State Board of Property Tax and do it again. The other correction that I'd like to make was the legislature has confirmation of the members of the Board of Tax Appeals. I got that switched up, not the State Board of Property Tax Review. On the Board of Tax Appeal side, not the property tax side, that's what you have this chart here, and we're prepared to go through that. But I did want to address why just explain why we're proposing dropping the property tax pieces. Again, it's a confusing area. We were changing the jurisdiction thresholds, moving more cases to the area of expertise, the State Board of Property Tax, but working within the current structure and looking to further adjustments. And that seems that's the confusion that is likely to result from the improvement is not worth the fact that there's likely to be property tax action in the next couple of years. There's the task force, which is looking at property tax issues. So that's the reason, rather than doing half steps to put those changes off. Do you have any questions before I talk about the Board of Tax Appeals? Sorry.
I'd like to hold for just 1 second and give Jessica Griswold an opportunity to introduce herself. And we jumped in your absence, but was there anything that you wanted to provide by way of summary from the last session on this bill? Or
Hi, Jessica Griswold, Office of Policy and Legal Analysis. I do have some materials. They are on their way from my secretary, who is printing them out right now.
Understood. So we will proceed with, are there questions, comments for what Mr. Sagasser has presented so far, or do we want to ask him to continue with what he just offered? Oh, wait a minute. Looks like in the nick of time. We are a just-in-time operation here, Taxation Committee. So while Elena is distributing the material, I would like to give Senator Tipping an opportunity to introduce himself.
Thank you. Mike Tipping, Senate District 8 in Penobscot County.
Thank you, Senator, and welcome. Ms. Griswold, if you are ready to, I think we can now resume the standard operating procedure for the bill analysis and then pick up where we hit pause with Mr. Sagasser, and thank you for your flexibility.
So I apologize that I didn't have a bill analysis last time. I did put something together for today's work session, and there are also notes of the amendment, the department's amendment as I understood them based on the descriptions during the last work session. To the extent that they are perfectly consistent with what's been passed out today, I don't know. They may not be. So just to preface that, and also what you may find even more helpful than the bill analysis itself are the two attached tables. There's one for the changes regarding the Maine Board of Tax Appeals and the Independent Office of Tax Appeals, and then the following one is a little bit less detailed table for the changes regarding the State Board of Property Tax Review. I don't know if you want me to go through the full analysis from start to end. I'm happy to do that, but whatever is more helpful to the committee is what I'm happy to do.
Thank you. I'd like to get the committee's feedback on that because we have just heard from Mr. Sagasser an intent to essentially delete Part D of the bill and most of the functioning part of Part C. Does that kind of moot much of the bill analysis? I think perhaps it does. Is there? Yeah. So what does remain is the portion of the bill contemplated in Section B. And so
Okay.
to the extent that your analysis covers Section B, I invite you to share that now.
I think actually most, if not all of the considerations I raised in the bill analysis come from Section B. So I guess I'll start there. So Section B6 of the bill, I believe the first change is to strike the phrase as a result and replace it with because. That could just be a Ross edit, but you may want to clarify with the department whether the intent of that was to change the degree of causation required to file a petition for reconsideration. Also, Section B9, subsection 2 on page 4 under composition of office, appointment, office location. It states that the office will include hearing officers, also referred to as appeals officers, but it doesn't specify how many. The department indicated in testimony at the public hearing that the intent is to have 3 hearing officers. The committee may want to consider specifying in an amendment to the bill how many hearing officers may be hired. A note that the current law does not require the board's appeals office to have a fixed number of appeals officers. The department's written testimony states that there are currently 2. But the board's members and staff page online indicates that there is 1. The committee may want to seek clarification on the makeup of the current appeals office and the proposed change. Section B9 again, subparagraph 5, paragraph F. That's page 5, lines 10 to 11. Requires the chief hearing officer to ensure that the assignment of duties to hearing officers comports with conflicts of interest standards and other ethics standards. The committee may want to seek clarification from the department regarding the ethics standards referred to here. For example, are they based on profession? Can they be specified in the language? Section B9, subsection 8, paragraph E, that's page 5, line 7 to 8. States that the hearing officer may encourage the petitioner and state tax assessor to resolve disputes. The committee may want to consider requesting clarification from the department as to what this means in practice and how the language could be made more specific. And then the next part of my bill analysis goes into the department's amendment, which my understanding has changed. It has changed, so I don't know that we want to walk through those, but we can.
You're referring to a department amendment of the 10th. We also have in hand a department amendment dated the 12th. Are these two different iterations? In which case, I think we should just deal with the most current iteration.
So what I have addressed in the bill analysis is the verbal amendment that was given on 3/10 on Tuesday. I'm just seeing the printed amendment now for the first time.
As are we all. I think the most efficient way to do this, winging it as we all are, would be perhaps to invite Mr. Sagasser back forward and to clarify what the current recommendation is in real time, and then only deal with the things that you have spotted in your analysis that remain relevant to the latest recommendation. Does that sound like an efficient way to go forward? All right. Thank you, Mr. Sagasser, if you'd be willing to join us again.
Yes. Thank you, John Sagasser, Tax Policy Council. The recommended amendment is just the document that I handed out today. It includes the item B items we walked through on Tuesday, but it goes farther by making those changes with respect to C, D, and E.
And if I can try to integrate the different recommendations we've had on this in real time. The deletion of C and D is consistent also with the with Senator Bickford's amendment that was introduced, correct? That proposal also suggested to remove C and D, but it also suggested establishing a task force as a section E that differs from the section E task force recommendation in the original bill.
So, right. So as to Senator Bickford's amendment, there would be two differences for C, the amendment that I put forward here today leaves in place in C. Put the bill. Okay, as you see on the amendment document, delete section C2 and section C6 through 10. So that leaves C1, 3, 4, 5. If you turn to the bill. C1 puts in, so I'll make sure people stay with me. So it leaves a few provisions in C1. In C. The first is it leaves in C1. These are the duties of the DAF's commissioner in Title V. It currently lists under subsection 6 of section 282 supervising the State Claims Commission. It would add to there the State Board of Property Tax Review and the Independent Office of Tax Appeals, which would be created under Part B. Our view is that this is technical in nature because the State Board of Property Tax Review is the provisions addressing its function are in Title 36. And the limited time director of the State Board of Property Tax Review was in a budget document and put forward by the DAF's commissioner. Person was understand, hired, it was selected by DAS and is in place. So that is a just technical clarification. The current Board of Tax Appeals, for which the independent office would replace, that statutory provision explicitly says that it's a Title 36 provision and provides that it's within DAS. So this is a housekeeping technical item listing that the DAS commissioner has that supervisory relationship with those boards. And then C3 and 4 are just the necessary grammar changes to get to C5. C5 deals with the State Board of Property Tax Review's jurisdiction. In section 271, it lists the provisions of the State Board of Property Tax Review jurisdiction. It's missing one. Current law, section 6251 is the property tax deferral program. Its provisions say appeals are to the State Board of Property Tax Review. So this is another housekeeping cleanup. It would delete our amendment would delete the rest of C. So that part overlaps with Senator Bickford's proposed amendment. It would delete all of Part D that proposes. And our amendment would delete Part E. I suppose that is also overlapping with Senator Bickford, except we would not replace it with a study.
That was a lot to try to follow. And I appreciate the summary. So to recap, section C now retains C1.
Yep.
Which is just that supervisory authority that you shared.
Yep.
Then C3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
Which deal rather simply with authority.
Listing, they're combined to just add a listing, a citation of the State Board of Property Tax Review's jurisdiction, the cases that go to it. Adds a provision, it's already current law that says it goes there, and it consolidates it where the other provisions for the jurisdiction are listed.
Got it. And then 6 through 10 comes out, and then we keep 11 and 12, which have to do with the assignment of duties of limited period director position and the application
Well,
of
okay, let's see. That was my error in this amendment because it's the rest of Part C that's supposed to come out.
So your intention is C11 and C12 also come out?
Yes.
Okay.
They can stay in. They don't. I can explain what C11 and C12 do. C11, the director for the State Board of Property Tax Review is already, it says expressly that the DAS commissioner can assign other duties to that position. But that's already the position taken. So planning those would come out.
Yeah, if your explanation is that C11 is not strictly necessary, I'd be comfortable with not adding it. And does the same apply to C12?
Yes, they can just follow the standard effective date of the legislation.
Okay, Representative Swallow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to make sure I'm clear, we're keeping C1, C3, C4, C5, and that is all we're keeping in C.
Yes.
And then all of D comes out
Yes.
and all of E comes out.
No, not all of these.
Oh, I'm sorry, delete section E2.
E2.
Sorry. See, this is why we check.
So yes, thank you.
Senator Bickford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Sagasar, thank you for putting this together. It's concise, it's clear. And I'm happy with the amendment you've put forward.
And
Yes, Mr. Sagasar.
if I may also, just to speak, because I should have said for E2 there, is changing the legislature's time that is reviewing these two boards, moving them to both is the dates you see. 2028.
And what I see that we are keeping in E1 is essentially just clarifying that our jurisdiction as a committee is now includes IOTA, as we're affectionately calling it, the Independent Office of Tax Appeals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And changes when you would review the state board from 2027 to 2028 with the idea that they'll both come up together and you would review them in the same year.
Okay, I wanted to, yeah, I wanted to double back to the section B, the part B, excuse me, elements of your proposal to make sure that we've got clarity on all of those as well, because I lost a bit of the thread as we
Yeah.
had to change the lineup here.
I'm sorry?
As we had to change the lineup here.
Yes.
So I just want to make sure that everybody is up to speed on what the amendments are in part B as well.
Oh, okay. Do you want-
Senator Tipping.
So I think this is germane to this section, but in the analysis, we heard that the duties under what would now be E, under B9 subsection 5 that were in the bill originally F, that it referred to conflict of interest standards and other ethical standards. First of all, just want to make sure that's still in there. And then it looked like there was a concern perhaps that these are not specified as much as they would be. And I wonder if you have thoughts on that.
My thoughts was that the language was sufficient. The standards that, to me, what that means is if you're a lawyer, then you're subject to the rules of the main bar. And you would become aware of broader sort of ethical standards under the American Bar Association. There are ethical standards for state employees under Maine statute, and those would apply. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay. I wonder if our analyst would want to provide any more information about that, the concern you note here. Or perhaps any other examples of how that kind of language is handled in statute.
I just think that any layperson reading the statute wouldn't necessarily know what types of ethical standards an attorney is subject to in their role as an attorney. Also, a person who is an attorney acting as the chief appeals officer or the chief hearing officer, they're not a practicing attorney when they're wearing that hat. So I was just raising the question of what ethical standards are being proposed in the language.
Thank you, Senator. Other questions or comments? To that point, I was wondering, Ms. Griswold, if you were in a position to make a recommendation of what might be added to address that concern? Or is that something to address to Mr. Sagasar?
I'm sorry.
To incorporate by reference an appropriate standard of ethics and conflict of interest standard. If I'm following the line of questioning from Senator Tipping, it does seem that referring to a specific source of standard would be useful.
We could provide that to the
If the
analyst.
intent is the attorney ethics rules, then the language should probably specify that. Otherwise, it's just not clear what applies.
Okay.
that'd be fine.
Okay. And that's something that exists in statute or is easy to
There's the
incorporate?
citation, yes.
Okay. Are folks generally, yeah, okay, we're good with that. And then there were just three other items. The date changes I recall from last time and the addition of the new F under Chief Hearing Officer duties.
Yeah, and pulling out the language on the administrative officer. Administrative system.
Before we proceed to a motion, given the amount of change that's been handed to us and try to integrate in real time, I wanted to pause and check with Ms. Griswold if there is anything in the bill analysis that remains for discussion or consideration now that you've had a chance to work through this in real time. And if you have not had sufficient time, let us know.
Not that I can think of off the top. He struck some significant portions of the bill, but the considerations I raised really all pertain to section B or part B anyways. So I think if you don't have any other concerns regarding what was raised in the bill analysis, then I don't either.
Thank you. And Senator Tipping.
Maybe I just ask, I believe you have a copy of the bill analysis there. And there were a couple other items under B. Are there any you'd like to respond to there?
Let me do the one that's in my head first, and then I'll find where it's on the paper, which is
Sure.
the analyst comment about the number of hearing officers. So that's a good comment. Right now, there's the transfer language, the unallocated transfer language. So the staff of the current appeals office and the Board of Tax Appeals transfers over to be the new independent office. And so there you have those authorized positions. The question is, it doesn't specify how many there should be. And so that's a fair point, whether the committee would want to actually specify or leave it open to the process of how state government adds positions, which is you'd have to go through the budget process and create a position or transfer a position.
Follow
Let me see what else.
Yeah, if I may, if you just wanted to go through all the ones under
Okay.
considerations and resources by number there, just to
Okay, so
make sure we've discussed them.
B6.
I noted here too that that could have
okay.
been a Ross edit. I don't know.
Yes, I think B6, the because versus as a result, I think is consistent with the usage elsewhere in this sentence. It was just consistency. There's no substantive change in that because.
All right, and then we've handled 2 and 3, I think. And then 4 is related to the petitioner and the state tax assessor.
Okay, what does the encouraging resolve dispute? The purpose of the language and the purpose for the change is to speed up and make less formal the current Board of Tax Appeals process, which is, and the chief hearing officer is here. This is a spreadsheet.
So the intent is to leave some leeway there.
I'm sorry?
The intent is to have some leeway there.
Yes.
Not get too definitional.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Quite welcome. Representative Rudnicki.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go back to my initial statement that I think that rather than adding a new independent office, more money coming out until we know. I think that the tax, whatever we call it, the one that we did for property tax, that they are still working. And then just last week, we just authorized for more time for it. I think that this should fall under that rather than a separate bill and separate. So I would be actually voting no on this for that reason. I think it should go under the property tax. What did we call it? Task force. That's what I'm trying to say, is where I think that this belongs right now, while we're still working through those things.
Thank you for that recommendation. As someone who is not possessed of a tax club mug and all the powers that that entails, is there someone so empowered who could address how readily the task force could pick this up? Senator Bickford.
I think it would be hard. We're asking for a number of meetings coming up. We probably could look at it. I'm looking at my House chair. I think it would be extremely difficult to get into that deep of an area. I think by the tax club putting it to the tax committee, what we're saying is it needs to be looked at. Tax committee, you're the committee of jurisdiction, you look at it and give us, or put forward your recommendations.
Representative Matlack.
Thank you. I agree with Senator Bickford. This is sort of outside of the purview of the task force. The task force is looking at reasons that that property taxes are where they are. This is a different direction for them, and I'm not sure that the consultant that we've hired is someone who should be responsible for rewriting tax law. So I think that we need to either come up with another group to review this, review it ourselves. But I think passing it on to the tax force would be quite complicated, and we wouldn't be able to do the work necessary. We're not going to meet again until May. And I think that would be beyond the extent of what we could do, and would cause this bill to go away, for one thing.
Senator Bickford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just gonna add that, for me, this is a good start. Yeah, we should have a study, but if anybody here knows what happens in study tables, they just kind of go away at the end of the year. So for me, I'm happy with the amended version that was brought to us by Mr. Sagasser. It outlined a lot of the questions that we had during the public hearing, for those of us that were there. And so I think it's a good start. Is it perfect? No, but it's a heck of a lot better than it has been. And I appreciate the efforts that were put forward.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? I am at a place where we've heard quite a bit of new information, and I would like to take a moment to discuss this in our caucus to make sure that we're aligned in how to move forward. Can we take Representative Quinn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for all the work that you've done on this. I understand where we are, and I understand where we are in session, but is there an issue with holding this off? I mean, is this something that you feel is vital, like we have to act on this right now? I do appreciate all the work you got for us in the 2 days. You you had to do a lot of work to get it for us. I do know that. But I'm just wondering, like, if there truly is an urgency where we have to act on this right now, where you're thinking that we need to, or if it is something that now that we have all of this information, it could actually be heard this way with this information, and having more people come forward who we would have had a like a task force as the initial one had the group get together or working group where they would be able to comment on the other areas that were being discussed about the number of meetings and all of that sort of thing. Like what are your thoughts on it? I just want to know truly like the urgency of it.
So let me answer that first directly. It's not urgent. There is a functioning Board of Tax Appeals. It does have 3 board members. So if you don't have the 3 board members, it's not functioning. And I think there's 3 or there's 3. There's 3, 2 still 3. So there's, but those slots have to stay filled. Again, in the Board of Tax Appeals is not property tax. That was maybe an issue with this bill, is if it had 2 big pieces in it. Board of Tax Appeals, this is sales tax, this is corporate income tax, this is individual tax. Part B is all that. It's not property tax. So it is not urgent because there is a functioning board, there's a functioning office, the process is in place. If I could just further state, the discussion about studies really was focused all on the property tax side. The side on this sales tax, the Board of Tax Appeals side is it's a long process. I mean, it's a long handout, but which we can walk through. It's just to condense that, to make it move faster. It's a de novo process to court. It ought to be more of a service to the taxpayers who just want to have somewhere independent outside of the assessor. And that's, in their view, is still, it's within DAS, but it's not under the assessor, to move things along faster, less formally. That's the idea of that, but it is not urgent, it's functioning.
Follow-up or? Okay. So if we may, I'd like to take a few minutes just to wrap our heads around where we're at with this. Thank you very much, Mr. Sagasser. Thank you very much, Jessica. Give us 10. Thank you. Welcome back.
One time I'm like.
Like to resume the work session on LD 2178. I would like to make a motion of ought to pass as amended. And to illustrate the motion of ought to pass as amended, I would like to request Ms. Griswold's assistance in walking through what the amendment as presented by Mr. Sagasser contains. If you would do so, please. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I need a second, don't I? Seconded by Representative Mallett.
So it looks like Part A of the bill will remain as is, as originally proposed. Part B, there is an amendment in section B9. Delete lines 33 through 35 of page 4. And that is the statement that the Commissioner of Administrative and Financial Services may assign other duties to the hearing officers consistent with this subsection, including assisting the State Board of Property Tax Review. And move that text up to the powers and duties section above it. Actually, it won't be the same sentence. Pretty close, though. Yeah, line 22 after the last word state, add notwithstanding the foregoing, the Commissioner of Administrative and Financial Services may assign other duties to the hearing officers consistent with this subsection, including assisting the State Board of Property Tax Review. Also, section B9, delete paragraph E. Page 5, lines 6 through 9. Re-letter paragraph F at line 10 on page 5 to be a new paragraph E. So they are removing the provision regarding assigning duties to the office's administrative staff and instead adding language they're instead adding language saying providing and assisting part-time duties to an appeals officer to provide legal services to the State Board of Property Tax Review in consultation with the Office of the Attorney General. So that's a duty added to the chief hearing officer, not to the office at large. The next change is to amend section B4 by replacing September 15th, 2026 with January 1st, 2027 at page 7, lines 36 and 39, and at page 8 at line 6. And the same change at page 8, line 11.
Yes.
Delete section C2 and sections C6 through C10. 12.
I'm sorry, I should be speaking on mic. It's actually through 12.
Okay.
C12.
And strike the entirety of Part D.
Correct?
And section E2 as well, strike section
Right.
E2 as well.
Retaining only section E1 of Part E.
Correct.
That is the motion. It's seconded by Representative Matlack. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none. Are we ready to vote? I'll call the roll. All in favor of the motion? I see Representative Harriman, Representative Matlack, Representative Sayre, Senator Tipping, Representative Friedman. All opposed? I see Representative Swallow, Representative Quint, Representative Rudnicki, Representative Levine, and Representative White. Those opposed, what is your report?
Ought not to pass.
It is. All right, that closes the work session on LD 2178. So I would like to go ahead and open up a work session on LD 229. An act to bring fairness in income taxes to Maine families by adjusting the tax brackets and tax rates, sponsored by our own Representative Matlack. And I see Analyst Langland preparing to present to us, and I will happily turn this over to you when you are ready.
Actually, I have very little to add on this, but I wanted to give you some historical background as to where we are. So LD 229, as the chair mentioned, is sponsored by Representative Matlack. It was amended in a divided report last session, and it was reported out and subsequently was recommitted back to committee. So the amendment that this, I think it was a majority report of the committee voted for, changed the income tax brackets beginning in 2026. And initially in the bill, there were several tax brackets added. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the amendment was changed to reduce the number of tax brackets from 6 to 5 for each filing status, and that would be individuals filing married joint returns and head of households. And it also adjusted the tax brackets on the top 2 brackets to 7.75 and 8.95, and adjust the dates for indexing. I'm not aware of any further amendments or anything at this point with the bill, but that's sort of where we are. We've had possession of the bill, I think, since last June. And obviously, if the committee wanted to report out an amendment, of course, it can do that. But the way it works is when a bill is recommitted back to committee, what happens is it comes back without the amendment, meaning the committee might decide the amendment that we voted out last session looks great. Let's do it again. And that's fine. It'll just be, it needs to be reprocessed, et cetera. And obviously, if the committee were to go that route with this, you'd want to look at the dates on the tax brackets, because obviously you did this last year, so you'd want to push the dates out, presumably. That's really all I have on this bill. Happy to try to answer any questions.
I'd just like to ask a quick clarifying question, because I heard what you said, but I want to make sure I understand what you said. This bill was amended.
Yeah.
We would, if for this amendment to be part of the bill, we would have to move this amendment again.
Correct.
The amendment is currently not part of the bill.
Correct. So it's without amendment back in committee.
Gotcha.
So you would
All
just
right.
have to vote to amend it again
Okay,
Yeah.
if we so chose.
if you chose. Yep.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. Representative Matlack.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So, Elena, can I get you to pass out that spreadsheet for me? Yes, I would like to include, this was my bill. It's been 4 years in the making. I would like to add back in the amendment from session 1, 2025, and update the dates throughout the amendment to specify that it would be beginning in tax years 27, I think. No, stay at 26. So that stays at 26. And I have other amendments that I would like to attach to this bill, and Eleanor's going to pass out the amendments for us. When I originally brought this bill forward, it was to assist Mickey Carmichael, who had this bill, and it was tax neutral. When I took over the bill, I made the bill revenue producing, but I also did not suggest where we might use the tax revenues from this bill to advance some of the other bills that we've taken up in taxation, bills that we've passed almost unanimously, mostly bipartisan bills. So I'd like to present to you the bills that I would like to include in LD 229 to improve the lives of people in our communities. I would like to increase the homestead exemption by $7,000 up to $32,000. For the property tax fairness credit, this is what we dealt with the other day, and we passed it out of the committee. It is to increase the maximum credit from $1,000 to $1,500 for those under 65. Then the property tax fairness credit for seniors. This is a little more complicated. It is, as of the other day, the max credit is $2,000, but how seniors get to that $2,000 is a bit more complicated. And it involves a percentage of their income and so forth. But it was passed out of this committee. It was LD 715. Then the sales tax fairness credit, which we just took up the other day and we passed out of this committee unanimously. That was LD 1954. This assists people in this state who need assistance with the sales tax that they pay. Additionally, I'd like to add in 1099, which is an act to exempt diapers from sales tax. We have held this bill for a while because of the price tag associated with it. And I would now we have now found a way to pay for this bill. So I would like to include it in 229. And then I would like to include the bill that we just voted on the floor this morning, LD 2078, which is an act to exempt from sales tax the sale and delivery of all residential electricity. Most of this will take place 90 days after we adjourn. The tax bracket I would like to put into place as of January 1st, 2026. The homestead exemption increase of $7,000. I would like to put in place as of 4/1/27, which is the next time we addressed homesteads exemptions on our properties. The property tax fairness credit and the sales tax fairness credit, I'd like that to be in place as of January 1st, 2026. And the electrical bills, I would like for that to be in place as of 10/1, because that will, that is at the time at which we can get Versant and CMP to change their billing systems. So this is my motion on this bill, and I appreciate your listening to me.
Senator Grohowski.
I'd be happy to second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Representative Rudnicki.
Mr. Chair, I don't think any of us are going to change our mind on how we vote on this bill. I say that we just move forward and get the work done. Vote yes, vote no, however you're going to vote. But I don't think having a long discussion is going to change anybody's mind at this point. And Representative Matlack, as much work as you've done on this, you and I both know you can say you want the money to go to these places. You're on approps. You have a say, but that doesn't mean that's where it will go. So I'm just gonna, I'd like to just move and to go ahead and vote. Thank you.
Senator Grahowski.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate your comments, Representative Rudnicki. And I just want to thank everyone on the tax committee more broadly. We might not all agree with this particular bill, but I think there's been a really good effort by this committee to do the work on the policies. And some of us are making an effort to try to give them a little more legs than they have when we send them to appropriations the way we have been. But I'm really proud of all those, all these all reflect, I think, really good work from this committee. And I just want to say that however anyone votes on this, I don't take it as any kind of statement on all of those individual bills and topics that we've discussed. And we're doing this because we're really well set up with the policies to do something that I think all of us believe in doing, even if it's not the same route that we would take to get there, I guess I would say.
Thank you, Senator. I see Representative Quint and then Representative Matlack.
Yes, and thank you for pointing that out, Senator Grahowski. Having opinions on LD 229 standalone is in fact no reflection on all of the rest of the items. And I actually do appreciate Representative Matlack adding this information to it to sort of say where the tax committee really has some strong agreement and where we would like money to go. I'm obviously not in favor of 229. I'm in favor of everything else, and I do understand that we have to look for money to be able to pay for things. And I know that our different parties at times will pay for things differently, but definitely appreciate the work, and I appreciate the heart behind what you're trying to do with 229 as well.
Thank you, Representative Quint. Representative Matlack.
Thank you. And yes, Representative Rudnicki, as one who serves on the Appropriations Committee, I know that once this bill goes to them, they get to do with it what they please. But originally, I did not set up for this bill to fund anything except the general fund. And we have done such great work here in the Taxation Committee on these bills that will assist people across our state. This is for the working people. And that's what Mickey wanted to do this originally, Mr. Representative Carmichael, and I still do, which is to help the people in the middle, help those people who are just getting by, who need just a little bit of something, a few more dollars off of their property taxes, a few more dollars in the property and sales tax fairness credits for mothers who don't have to pay taxes on their diapers, and for residential electricity, which I believe was unanimous on the floor. These are all bills that we here in the tax committee looked at and we agreed to. And while I understand entirely that my friends on the other side of the aisle here in this committee don't agree with 229, they do understand about the other bills. And I just wanted to find a way to pay for all the hard work we've put in this session.
Other comments? Are we ready for a vote? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, LD 229. I see Representative Harriman, Representative Matlack, Representative Sayre, Senator Grahowski, Senator Tipping, Representative Friedman, and Representative Crockett. All opposed. Representative Swallow, Representative Quint, Representative Rudnicki, Representative Levine, and Representative White. And what is your report, those who are opposed?
Ought not to pass.
Elena, you have that? Mr. Langland, do you have any questions or you have what you
If I
need?
have any questions, I assume I have permission to work with the sponsor, and I guess we'll go from there.
You most certainly do. Thank you. That concludes the work session on LD 229, which was the third of three items that we had today. Mr. Langland, did you have anything else for us today?
I don't. I don't think Jessica does either. I didn't mean it as I don't, but.
I was going to get to Ms. Griswold as well, but I started with you at the microphone. I thank you both and Elena for your assistance today. I thank everyone for good work today. And we will be back here on Tuesday. Pending PO approval, so hold space.
Oh, yes.
And Monday, did you want to give one more pitch?
Don't forget, there's a pop-up museum at the Hall of Flags from 10 to 4 on Monday. It's the American Experience, the American Journey Experience Museum. They're coming out of Texas and they're bringing some wonderful items with them. Please stop by and check it out. Thank you.